Folks at home, welcome back to the Crimson Oak Pond, and if you're new to this series, we built this 5-acre pond over the past year, and it took us several months to get all of the dirt excavated, and we had to bring in several truckloads of clay. And we also built an island, a dock, and got all the structure in place, and then it took a couple of months to get it full of water. After that, we stocked it with a bunch of bait fish, including bluegills and threadfin shad, and not long after that, we stocked it with these little 2-inch aggressive bass. And we're going to be giving you an update on them here in just a minute and showing you how big they've gotten. But before we get into that, I want to talk about today's project, and it's one that I'm pretty excited about. So over the past year, we've had a ton of different wildlife show up to the pond, but the one that I was most surprised to see were the bald eagles. And we got a pair of bald eagles that show up and must live somewhere nearby. And here recently, we've started seeing a juvenile bald eagle. And with juveniles, sometimes they don't fully develop the white head until they're 5 years old. But I knew that eagles are a protected species, so the first thing I did was reach out to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service about any permits that I needed. So you don't need a permit to build a nest, but there are several guidelines and regulations involved, and they sent me over a packet with building recommendations as well as tips on installing live stream cameras in their nest, which we'll talk more about later. So now that we got the go-ahead, I knew there was one perfect person for this job, and that's Nate over at Nate Makes. So on our last collaboration, he built the world's most advanced duck house that included solar power, a splash pad, an indoor aquarium. So I asked him, what do you think about building us an eagle nest? And after a few minutes of drawing up the design, he had me a parts list and was ready to go. Let's just say Nate's pretty talented when it comes to building any kind of wildlife structures. So I'm just going to show you the highlights of the eagle nest build here. If you're interested in seeing the full build, I'll have a link to his channel down in the description below, but you can use this same design for an eagle nest or an osprey nest. So it only took a few hours to build, and I love the way it turned out. One of the main things I wanted was to leave some vertical wooden boards so the eagles could use them as a perch, and then they could build the nest on the platform down below. But everything's rock solid, bolted in and braced down, and now's when we encountered our first problem. So the first thing I underestimated was the weight of this platform. It's roughly 300 to 400 pounds, and it's sitting on top of a 40-foot pole. So lifting this with a Kubota tractor was out of the question. So luckily we were able to hire some guys in the next morning that had the perfect equipment to set the eagle nest. And I'm not going to lie, I had my doubts even with this piece of equipment, because one slip and the eagle nest would be destroyed. But once the guys were finally able to get the base of the pole completely vertical, he was able to use the clamp on this long arm, and once he got a hold of it and locked it in, it was solid. And while it was laying on the ground, I couldn't see how massive it was, but once it got stood up in the air, we quickly realized what our second issue was going to be, and that was that I didn't dig the hole deep enough. So I used my tractor to go about 5 feet deep, and after talking to these guys who do this for a living, they recommended 7 feet. So unfortunately we had to remove the nest and lay it back down, but this was definitely the right decision because the last thing we wanted to do was add more weight when the eagles build their nest and it get top heavy and fall over. And luckily this machine had a built-in auger, so we got down to that 7-foot depth range and just had to reset the tower. And the second time around, the guys had it figured out and made easy work of it. So we added some concrete, got it level and packed in. And I couldn't be happier with how it turned out, but man, this thing is massive. There's a good comparison showing the tractor and how much bigger this is than it. So now that we got the eagle tower built, we're going to have to put a camera in it. So Nate's getting rigged up to go in spider monkey mode. So just like with the duck house, we're going to let you guys name the eagle nest. And whoever's name we choose will win a prize package. They'll also get the name engraved on the eagle nest. And as an added bonus, the winner will have a 1 in 3 shot of also winning a weekend trip out here to the Crimson Oak Farm. And the rules are simple. Nate also has an eagle nest build on his channel, so leave your eagle nest names on his latest video, and he's going to select the winner and come out and engrave it for you. And I've got a link to his channel down in the video description. But you guys definitely want to subscribe to his channel because we're going to be doing a lot of collaborations this spring. And just a sneak peek at one of the next ones, you can see he's out here with some electronics, mapping out the bottom contours of the pond. And that software is going to create a 3D topo map. And then he'll be using that to CNC one of those oak slabs that we got from the fallen oak tree and build us an exact replica of the Crimson Oak Pond. He's even going to have LED lights in there where our underwater green lights are, the dock, the island, all the underwater brush piles. So it's going to be a really cool project, and almost all of that footage is going to be on his channel. So be sure to subscribe to him so you don't miss out on that. And today's video is brought to you by Factor, and I can almost guarantee you that there's a pile of folks out there watching this video right now that made a New Year's resolution to either lose weight or eat healthier. And if so, Factor is a perfect fit for you because they can deliver healthy, nutritious, never frozen meals directly to your doorstep. And for those of you that have watched my channel over the past several years, you know how much I love to cook. But I have to admit, when you have those busy days where you're spending all your time on projects, there's nothing better than coming home to a pre-cooked, healthy meal. And Factor even offers meals for different types of diets, including keto, low calorie, or vegetarian. And they have over 27 different meal options each week. And a typical meal plan will range from 4 to 18 meals per week. And you can even add or reduce that number based on your specific needs. And one of the best parts is there's no prep work or mess to clean up. And since the meals aren't frozen, all you have to do is spend about 2 minutes heating them up, and it's time to eat. So if you want to try them out, either click the link in my video description or head over to go.factor75.com and use promo code POGBAMAJAN60, and that'll give you 60% off your first box. And for a little added bonus, they also send out smoothies or keto shakes, which are a perfect little snack for days out here at the pond. Gotta love it. And you know it was a job well done because within 3 hours, one of the eagles flew in to check it out. And this is actually the adult male eagle and one of the first times that we've ever got him close to the pond. We've seen the female a bunch and she's much bigger than him. And we've also seen the juvenile who hangs out here every morning. But you can actually see the male checking it out. He's turning his head sideways and admiring a potential new nesting site and scratching his head trying to decide if he wants to rebuild his nest and relocate it over here by the pond. But here's another look at the female, and you can see how much bigger she is than the male. But a couple of fun facts about eagles: they hunt from up to 10,000 feet up in the sky, and their vision is 8 times better than humans. And they're also able to see the ultraviolet portion of the spectrum, which is really beneficial to them because it helps them see past the reflections on the water, and that helps them to catch those fish. And most eagles live anywhere from 25 to 40 years, and as I mentioned earlier, the juveniles sometimes don't get the fully white head until age 5. And bald eagles also build the largest nest in the world that can sometimes weigh up to 2 tons. And at one point in the 20th century, they were in danger of becoming extinct because of the chemicals DDT. And lastly, eaglets are fully grown at only 12 weeks old, and that's typically when they take their first flight. So let's check in on some other wildlife using the tower. It looks like this may be a hawk. I can't quite tell, but he's using it as a hunting ground, flying down to pounce on some prey. And there was never a doubt that Hooter the owl was going to use this, and he flies up and is enjoying it the first night. You can also see some of those bandit raccoons back there in the background. And now Hooter moved down to the lower portion of the platform while all the deer are grazing beneath him. And there we got a cool shot of him flying directly into the camera. So Nate wanted to catch and tag a bass and enter our contest. So let's see what he's got. All right, now. First fish caught off the island. It's a nice one too.
Did you see that?
Uh-uh.
There was 3 following.
Oh, 3 following it. Nice. All right, we're going to scan it to see if it's been tagged yet, and then tag it. Oh.
For real?
I think so, yeah. We have a tagged fish, so we got a winner somewhere. It is 971. Just to double check it.
What are the chances?
100%. Yep, it's got a tag in it already. It's healed up good, so it's probably one of the first ones we caught. Yep, that's it right there. Awesome. 971. Let's go ahead and unfortunately we're out here on the island. I don't have a way to measure it. Let's put it right here across this, and then I'll measure it when we get back. Yeah, put its lip right there, and then the tail goes right here to the edge. So we'll measure that when we get back. That's an aggressive one. So Barrett Cook is the first winner of this fishing contest, and Einstein is the name of the bass that Nathan caught for the second time. So Barrett wins the prize from the most aggressive fish, which is the first fish that was caught twice. So send me your address, Barrett, and I'll get your package sent out. All right, I told Nate he could catch a fish and I'd tag it and put his name by it for the contest. So we're gonna let him catch another one since he can't put his name by that one. Got him. It's a little hot spot out here on the island. That's a male. Doesn't look like he's been caught. Yeah, I think we got you a new one.
Yeah.
All right, this one has not been caught. All right, Nate's tag 9855. All right, let's let him go. So now let's talk about the next project we got going on today, and that's planting a few thousand trees. So earlier this year, our neighbor clear cut his pine plantation that bordered our property right beside the pond. And in my mind, when a tree goes down, you should always plant one in its place. So today we're going to be planting a few thousand of these containerized longleaf pines. And we've got 80 acres here, and we're going to plant them along the perimeter of the property, as well as beside that pine plantation. And this will give us all the benefits that trees naturally provide, as well as also providing some extra cover and protection for the wildlife. So when you just have a big wide open peanut field, they don't really utilize it during the daytime, they only come out at night. So hopefully by having a lot more trees here, they'll feel more comfortable and the wildlife will get a lot more use out of it. So they make a perfect tool for planting the pines called a dibble bar. And it basically creates a wedge down in the ground. And then you just add the containerized seedling. And if any of you are doing this in the future, the one thing you need to keep in mind is you always need to leave about a quarter to a half inch of that root system sitting above ground level. And then just pack it in tight. And we're going to do 7 by 10 rows. So each tree is going to be 7 feet apart and each row will be 10 feet apart. And it's crazy to see that even here in January, we still have fresh peanuts in the ground. That's why the animals love it here. And one other small tip, if you see any of the containerized seedlings that have busted up root system, just discard those as they have a low success rate. And I love how you can still see the eagle tower over here on the other end of the property. So we ran our lines to make sure that we had perfect rows and planted all day long. And there's something really satisfying about planting trees, because even though I personally may not get to see them fully grown, it's kind of like giving something to the future generations. And speaking of future generations, most of you know that Liz is pregnant, and we've got a baby boy due February the 16th. So over the next few weeks, my upload schedule may be a little off while we're spending some quality time with a newborn baby. And most of you have seen what I call the peanut picnic table. I put out peanuts, pecans, Brazil nuts, sunflower seeds, and pistachios. And usually I'm trying to lure out the squirrels or raccoons, but this time I'm going to put it a little closer to the pond and see what's coming around here at night. This raccoon smelt them from the other end of the farm, headed that way. And it didn't take them long to clean out the entire picnic table. But this is something they do all the time out here at the pond, and that's walk around the water's edge, feeling the surface right where the water meets the land. And I'm not sure what this is. If any of you know, leave a comment down below. Some deer regretting that they missed out on all the peanuts. And birds coming through to eat the sunflower seeds. And some deer playing in the pond water. But now let's get an update from the rest of the farm animals, because it's rutting season here in Alabama, and there's a lot of activity. I'll have to say this is one of the first three-way fights I've ever seen between these young bucks. And it's that time of year where the blackbirds are everywhere. Some more rutting action. And this is what the coyotes have to say about it. And the raccoons wondering when I'm going to refresh the peanuts. And a bobcat. It's a pretty good one too. And I know that bucks act crazy during the rut, but I've never seen one eat a tree limb. Wood and all. That can't taste good. And all the food plots came up good, and the does are out here enjoying them. Now it's time for an update on Romeo the duck. Hands down, one of the most entertaining ducks you'll ever see. And I thought he found his Juliet, but every night she gets too afraid of all the owls and other wild animals and leaves Romeo high and dry. And when she's around, he's a pretty normal duck, just following her lead. But when she's gone, he becomes a spastic duck, flapping around, making as much commotion as he possibly can, and always hanging out with the decoys in the pond. Sometimes I think he 100% believes that they're real. But on this particular night, Romeo was in for a treat as 3 female ducks flew into the pond. And he had his hands full keeping up with these 3. I feel like he was trying to calm them down, but the female ducks know all too well of what predators are out there, so you can see they're a little panicked and don't really want to settle down. Romeo's going to have a tough time keeping up with these 3 tonight. But eventually his main squeeze flies back into the pond and he settles down with her. And as these temperatures cool off and the rut continues, we've started seeing a lot more daytime activity. And Sarah loves it when they come hang out around the pond so she can see them good. And she started off trying to name them all, but quickly gave up and said there's just too many to name. And man, look at the neck on that buck. And you can tell he's eaten his fair share of peanuts this year. And I can't leave out one of the latest members to the pond that we call Snowball. We got to see a lot of action of him in the last video, and one of the funny things he does is he likes to ride the back of the decoys. So when he's not up in the air hunting, that's where you can find him. Another cool shot of the owl we call Hooter. I think he's given up on chasing the ducks around. And now it's time to feed our smallest bass, Tiger. And a lot of you have asked why he is smaller than the bass in the 5-acre pond. And bass only grow as big as their surroundings, so when they're in a smaller tank like this, they'll grow some, but not to their full potential. As soon as we move them over to the 300-gallon tank, you'll see a huge growth spurt. And then also, when he goes to the backyard pond, he could probably get close to his full potential there. But this little guy can eat. And now it's time to feed the most aggressive bass on planet Earth, Mr. Moby. So I didn't get the opportunity to talk about the live stream camera that we're going to put in the eagle's nest, so we'll go over that in the next video. But make sure to hit that subscribe button to see which eagles join the new tower, as well as all the other crazy wildlife out here at the Crimson Oak Pond. But I hope y'all enjoyed this one, and we will see you all next time.